Tonight we have a special evening with the VWBPE Executive Committee. The Virtual World's Best Practices in Education Conference is coming up on April 4th through 6th, and there is an amazing array of offerings again this year. VWBPE is a global grassroots community event focusing on education in immersive virtual environments. This open conference is organized by educators for educators to provide an opportunity to showcase the learning that takes place in this community of practice. All educators are encouraged to present, attend, and take part in this discussion of collaborative, deeper learning and co-presence in virtual worlds and games. Kevin Feenan, Lorraine Mockford, and Becky Adams are the executive directors for the conference. More information is available on that website at vwbpe.org. Kevin Feenan, Phelan Koramal in Second Life, is the founder of Rockcliffe University Consortium. Kevin holds an MBA from the University of Toronto and has a background in organizational design, application architecture and development, business analysis, and education. Rockcliffe is an association dedicated to the development of best practices in education and technology. Lorraine Mockford, Laura Von Luster, or LV in Second Life, is a retired instructional designer for Nova Scotia Community College. She holds an MED from the University of Prince Edward Island. Lorraine is an innovative and creative adult education professional with a keen understanding that the best projects are the result of collaboration among diverse participants. She loves virtual conferences and events. Becky Adams, Ellie Pinion in Second Life, recently retired as Director of Online Course Design and Facility Services at the University of New Mexico. She has been a committee chair for the VWBPE conference for several years, making sure the conference is fully staffed with trained volunteers. Becky holds a PhD in Curriculum and Instruction from New Mexico State University. Prior to working for the University of New Mexico, she was a classroom teacher for Albuquerque Public Schools for 11 years. Phelan, would you like to start?
Oh, I guess I get to start. Yes, by all means.
And you can tell me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, too.
That's okay. No worries there. So, with regards to the conference, this will be our 12th year that we'll be running the conference. And it will be the last of 3 years that we're using this particular theme for the regions and the event. So next year, we're going to have a completely new theme. So anybody that hasn't seen the build out and all the work that's been done by a lot of people, they can. This will be their last year to be able to see that. I'm going to let Lori Vaughn talk about program, obviously. I'm not going to trump on that parade. With regards to the conference itself, we were looking at this idea of the concept of revision and how we're sort of bringing forward this idea of reflections of the learned past and to conceptualize the future. It's a precept in an age where technology connects everyone through both facts and opinions. But mostly, it's about how we utilize the technology to renew the promises of connectivity in more insightful ways. So what I'm hoping that people are going to get out of this year's conference is in part the idea that digital skills and digital literacy are not just about using tools, but it's about how that we connect with the people around us. and how we use those tools in order to really foster a community that is capable of problem solving. And I guess to me, that's one of the biggest things that we find in education currently. We talk about this idea of trying to create problem solvers, trying to create people who are capable of surviving inside this digital world. And to a lot of it, it's not just a question of whether or not you can use Google or Microsoft or a series of other tools or applications. It's really about using your noggin, so to speak, and how the technology enables us to solve these larger problems and allows us to extend the ability to, well, essentially to do work, right? And so, anyway, I'm hoping through this idea of revision that people will really sort of come away from this with the idea that everything that we're doing has an influence one way or the other. I don't know, LV, did you want to talk a little bit about the programs area that we're going to have?
Sure thing. I'm just ready to go. So, thank you for coming and thank you for inviting us. This is wonderful. We're pretty excited about the program this year. It has a little bit of something for everybody, I think. Let me just paste that. There we go. In addition to the engaging spotlight presentations and the workshop, we continue with the ever-popular quadrivium discussions as we challenge what we know and revision the future. Future of education.
This is Jeffrey Got radio? Get.
It's the only way I can survive, Kevin. Assessment, we're going to be looking at assessment on Thursday, professional learning communities on Friday, and technology on Saturday. Our keynote speakers are guaranteed to provide provocative insights. I'm really looking forward to what they have to say. Oops, that did not work. Hang on. There we go. On Thursday, the 4th of April, we have Tom Belstorff, who's going to be speaking to us on his insights on what he's calling para-ethnographic film as a way of examining disability. It's going to be quite interesting. So be sure to watch the Draxter Dupre film, Our Digital Selves, My Avatar is Me, which is an insight into Tom and Donna Davis's research partner, their research. Be sure to watch this before the conference. It will make a lot more sense, I think, if you've watched the video. It's really good. And you'll recognize a lot of people that are in there. So at the end of the day, end of Thursday, we're going to have a discussion with Drax and the participants in the film. Hopefully Tom as well, but he's on his way to Vancouver, so he says he can make it through the traffic, but I don't think so. Anyhow, we hope he'll be there. I think it's going to be really good, Beth, and we're calling it The Making of My Avatar is Me. So the participants will be there, I'll be moderating, and Drax will be talking about what it was like to do that type of mixed media video, which I think is part of the theme that we're sort of seeing emerge out of the program, this mixed media concept. On Friday, our keynote will focus on, our keynote focus moves to language and teacher education in virtual worlds with V-Language's own Tuncer Khan of Istanbul University. He's lovely. This year, VWBPE welcomes V-Languages as a partner, and they are also hosting an immersive experience, more on that later, but an immersive experience on on their Guinevere project, which Tuncer will also be talking about. The Guinevere project is an EU-funded language learning endeavor, and I think you'll quite enjoy it. So get to Tuncer's talk and also check out the immersive experience. On Saturday, Jonathan Richter will be joining us as the keynote speaker, and he's going to be sharing what works in immersive XR. So AR, VR, MR, yay! And John is a long-term friend of VWBPE. I went back to some old pictures, and there he was. And certainly a friend of teaching and learning in virtual environments. I am dredging my inventory for my salamander shirts. Some of you may have them too. John is the executive director of the Immersive Learning and Research Network and the co-founder. I think he's going to have some really interesting things to say. So that's sort of it for the program. We have 3 lovely full days, and it's going to be very exciting. And Becky will talk about some of the other aspects of that in a moment. But I also wanted to talk, first of all, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the immersive experiences, which have always been my, excuse me 1 minute. There. Immersive experiences have always been my love for the last few years. And those are the tours that people host in their Sims, wherever they may be in the metaverse, and invite us to come and visit them. And you really should come along. These are so cool. Day, you did one with us last year, right? Or was it the year before? I can't remember. Yeah, it was great. So be sure to check these out. The immersive experiences are tours, and this year we have them starting on the 24th of March. Let me post that in there. On the 24th of March and continuing until the 19th of April. There are 6 sessions before the conference and 10 happening afterwards. These are a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to see and experience how others are using virtual environments for teaching and learning. I hope you're going to join us for some of them. It would be wonderful. I have a note card that I can pass out later. There is a significant representation from virtual librarians in Kitely, OpenSim, and Second Life, including a really interesting hypergridding poker run. What is up there with those librarians, Beth?
Valerie Hill retired a year or so ago, and she has been spending an amazing amount of time and energy on getting the community virtual library together. I mean, there are a lot of people working on it. It's not just Val, but I think that's been the impetus.
She's been the impetus, I think.
Yeah. She's amazing.
There's some really fun ones. I think the hypergridding poker run is going to be great. So this year's immersive experiences will take us to VR chat. You don't need to use a headset. I've been in there and you don't have to. Science Space, in addition to the above environments I talked about in Kitely, OpenSim, and Second Life. Yeah, there should be a big warning sign up, I think, Scott. There's several opportunities to participate in research while playing games if you choose. You don't have to participate in research, but you do need to play the game. And explore learning environments. And did I mention there's a Vikings attack? You have to get away from the Vikings. How cool is that? This is actually a language learning environment. Oh, thanks, Beth. Anyhow, that's it for me. Is that a note card on the immersive experiences, or do you want me to pass that to you?
No, if you pass that to me, I'll put it in the box.
Okay, that'd be good.
It's a general
That's it for
note
me.
card on references like where our virtual media outlets are.
Right. Oh, that was the other thing I
find
needed to put. Just a minute.
information,
I just wanted to give everybody a link directly to that program calendar. Everything is in there, and you can adjust it to however you like to view it. You can even download it to your own calendar. There you go. Over to you, Ellie.
Yeah, cool. I'd like to add as well that it's a real pleasure to be here tonight, and we so appreciate you inviting us. Thank you. I'm going to talk a little bit about something that you guys probably know a lot about with Serena sitting here. As always, our very creative social committee has been working hard to bring some events to add to the conference experience. As usual, there will be a ribbon cutting ceremony to start the conference out on Thursday at 8 a.m. SLT. There will be some social media unconference conversations to bring us all together, as well as our traditional parade, some under the sea adventures, an exhibit, scavenger hunt, which is new, and of course the live music to dance to. I know that you guys are excellent dancers, as am I in Second Life, and we don't want to miss an opportunity to do that. And Serena, thank you for giving us the opportunity, and please feel free to jump in if you want to add anything to what I'm saying about the social committee. We're also looking forward to the Dick Clark American Bandstand Tribute, and Friday you won't want to miss the amazing Misfit Dance and Performance Art Group, which is going to be just stunning. Of course, and you guys are very familiar with this, I would imagine, it is definitely so much fun. We will be awarding the Thinker Award at the closing ceremonies on Saturday evening. As you guys have one of our Thinker awardees, Andy, in your midst, and it is something that is very, very special to all of us. We will be awarding the Thinker Award at the closing event on Saturday, and we are very excited to see all the amazing educators that were nominated this year, and looking forward to seeing who that award will go to. We are also excited about this. We're very excited about this year's conference, and would love to have you volunteer to help, as many of you already have. If you would like to volunteer, please go to the BWBPE website /volunteer sign up, and there's a link for you there. But even if you don't have time to volunteer, please join us. Yes, and t-shirts and a coffee cup. Awesome. Thank you. Even if you don't have time to volunteer, we do appreciate and enjoy hanging out with you there, and join us for this great experience with amazing innovators in education. Thank you all for letting us talk all about it. We're very excited. Back to you, Phelan.
Yep. So are there any questions that people have for us with regards to things that are happening at the conference? Yeah. Well, I know in the past, uh, both Brett and Ebby have basically held the door open, um, so that if educators want to, or if educational groups would like to have discussions with them, that they're more than willing to have those conversations. That's been an open policy with them for, well, ever since Ebby sort of took over. He's always had that door open for us, and a few groups I know have taken advantage of it. But I mean, in terms of a concerted effort, I don't necessarily know that they've sort of gone back to the time where we've sort of had education or, I guess, sort of subject liaisons. You know, similar to, 10 years ago now, right? So, I mean, I think they are trying to do more outreach, but it's within a more limited context. By comparison to what they've done in the past, it might seem like it's more, in terms of other, what's happening with other groups, I really don't know myself.
Yeah, I didn't mention, and I'm sorry, one thing that's happening during the conference is our Above the Books, where Phelan will be interviewing people. We have two of them. The first one is on the Thursday, and that is with Patch and Grumpety Linden this year, Kevin? Yeah?
Anya, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep, so that'll be interesting to have them. In previous years, we've had Ebby and Brett. But a lot of the questions that we get, even though this is a education conference, we get a lot of technology questions. So Patch is a really good person for that, and I haven't met Anya before, but I'm assuming that she's going to have a lot to offer. Yeah. And actually, speaking of, I just realized that I forgot to mention one of the important things. The sponsors that we have for this year. Every year, the conference is made free of charge to everybody because we have a group of people that help contribute to the cost of the conference. The conference itself, being made up mostly of volunteers and other people, is, a really, it's a showcase of what you can do when a group of people work together. We have upwards of 60 to 80 people on a regular basis that come together to help put this on. So between the volunteers, the conference organizers, the broadcast team, all the social people, you know, it's a really, really strong community that we have here, and the fact that we don't have to go out and sort of beg, borrow, and steal for everything is a really good. It's a really good thing for putting on a conference like this.
Can I jump in? I don't know if you're finished.
Just give me 1 second, just because I want to go through and just give a quick shout out to the sponsors that we do have, because I mean, I think people know that Thinker, right, has been a huge supporter of lots of different events happening in virtual worlds. He's been a sponsor for us again this year. We have a new sponsor this year called Great Creations. The University of New Mexico, Virtual Abilities, Agile Dimensions, the Kelly School of Business, and the V Languages Group. Just wonderful group of people that help us out, you know, every single year, in addition to all the various volunteers. So, Scott, you had a question that you were about to ask.
Yeah, I was wanting to jump in.
Hey, sorry.
Yeah, and what I want to jump in with is the importance of virtual world's best practice in education. I've been going a number of years, but I think this year, from what I'm hearing, it's even more so. And the reason why I say that is my school system is facing a $500,000 budget shortfall. And in the past, if I wanted to go to a conference in real life, it was not a big deal. You know, there was subs there was money for hotels, there was money for, you know, whatever. Okay, we get hit with a $500,000. There's not even money for subs anymore. I was told pretty much you can pretty much forget going to any conferences. Field trips are going to have to be totally paid for by the students. It's amazing. So, and at the same
It's
time,
disappointing.
oh yeah, and I bet I'm not the only school system. I'm one of the largest school systems in Virginia. I bet my school is not the only one that's getting hit with these sort of budget problems. And at the same time, interestingly enough, I just learned this week that my school system is part of a consortium of 26 schools that's received a grant, and they're looking at, the theme is innovation. The theme is, and they're also looking at the 5 C's, which is communication, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, and citizenship, and how we can promote that. And I'm not on the committee for my school, but the chairman of the science department is. And I met with her yesterday afternoon and said, we don't have the money anymore for real life conferences. We've really got to look at the virtual world. And I sent her a list of all the things, all the ed tech going on in Second Life, whether it's ISTE, VISTE, Virtual Pioneers. I certainly sent her the schedule for Virtual's Best Practice in Education, Science Circle. I'm saying this has got to be the way that we do business, you know, just because you get so much bang for the buck out of this. So she expressed some interest. Haven't heard from her today, but I'm going to keep being the drum of these virtual presentations, because I just don't see any other way in the future that this is going to happen in terms of the money. So thank you. Just want to say thank you for all your work. I did have a question. I'm looking at the calendar and couldn't find, interestingly enough, the keynotes when I look at the calendar website. Where are those listed? Because I see the keynotes, their biography, but not when that's happening.
They're not marked as keynotes, but there's one each day.
Yeah.
The one with Tom Belsdorf is early in the day on Thursday.
Yeah, I think we can go back and we can add in the keynote section, we can go back in and add the dates and times in there, so it's a bit easier to find. But the keynotes are listed in the main calendar.
Maybe I've just missed them.
It's interesting what you mentioned with regards to the funding difficulties. This is, in part, I mean, this is one of the things that I've always found is frustrating. You know, teachers are expected to do almost everything on their own dime. The number of grants that are available are sort of few and far between. There's heavy competition for them. And once you do get a grant, quite often they're limited in terms of their duration. So anything that you start to build up, there's nothing sustaining it after the grant runs out. Which I know from talking to others is extremely frustrating. You start to build up momentum on something and then poof, it's gone. You know, it's one of those things where I think environments like this, and it's not just Second Life, by the way, it's more than this environment. But these types of environments, if used carefully, I think can really you know, sort of help bridge a gap in some areas where there's a lack of funding. But like I said, it's just so disappointing that every time you turn around, education is being walloped with another, well, you know, suck it up type of thing. Yeah, and it's yes, Beth, and I think it's wrong to some extent because, you know, quite often we talk about wanting to create digitally literate students coming out of the K through 12 programs. And we don't provide the opportunities to really make that happen. We get an opportunity to talk about digital literacy. You know, obviously there's the ISTE standards. There's a lot of different things that are out there. But then when you look at a lot of the up and coming technologies that are happening in business, the types of things that people might be expected to have to use, not just from a hands-on technology perspective, but in terms of wrapping your mind around how they would be used in order to do problem solving. You look at hologlasses. For example, that Microsoft just come out with a new version of those. You look at Vive, you look at Rift, you look at you know, any number of these augmented reality applications. And the two biggest things which are really preventing students from being able to use them is the lack of content, the high cost of content, and the cost of the devices themselves. So what we're left with is we're left with a series of, you know, hopefully somebody else has built an app to do something close, and then how do we manipulate it to approximate something that might be useful. So, yeah, Dave, believe me, I can feel your pain on that because I think that's one of the core issues that's facing education right now.
Let me just respond quickly to what you said. I see an amazing opportunity here because one of the things that my chair said was they're willing to use professional development time for collaboration, which means one of my dreams might come true where we might actually have, say, an election day where schools and teachers actually get together on Second Life and talk with each other. That would be so cool. But the other thing I want to reply to, which is something you just said, which is, you know, we see the future, and it's augmented reality, virtual reality, and so on. Consultants I talk to say the same thing. When I was at the VISTE conference in Virginia Beach this past December, the kickoff speaker, Rob Furman, said the future in education is clear. And he said, here it is. And he showed a class with students with headsets on. He said, it's getting cheaper. And you said content. He said, the students are going to be making the content. You know, and Beth, close your ears. Of course, they're going to be using Unity, and it's becoming simpler to do this sort of thing. My problem is not money. It's not, it might sound weird, or software, or any of that. It's the mindset of central office and administrators. I say the words virtual reality, I know what they're thinking. They're thinking I'm going to be playing games in my classroom, and it's not. I mean, HP heard what we were doing. They came, they said, can we come to your campus to meet with you and your students? And I said, yeah, I didn't invite them. They came. And they came and they talked to our computer club and our AP computer programming. And they said, the future is virtual reality. Get it into your heads. It's going to get cheaper. You're going to be going to the movie theater and you're going to be slapping a headset on. You know, you're going to be going to your doctor and he's going to be talking about a surgical procedure and you're going to preview it in virtual reality. Schools are going to be replacing their seats with this stuff. I mean, it's not me talking. This is consultants and companies like HP. It's just shocking to me that you get all this hubbub and you've got a keynote speaker coming to talk about it. And yet the decision makers in central office administration don't want to hear it. It's just unbelievable. And yet at the same time, they want to talk about the future of education and jobs. All right? They're not going to get it, I hate to say. You're right. It's very hard, okay, to get them to change. It's going to be a matter of these people are going to have to retire. We're going to have to bring in new blood, okay, that gets it. All right, I'm sorry. I'm going to get off my soapbox now.
No, that's quite all right. One of the things that I see is, and it's something that I've talked about for a bit, is this idea of changing paradigms. And the idea of a digital future is one of those key things. We quite often mix up the technology with the process of thinking and the cognitive requirement of how to use technology. To me, that's really one of the core differences between those groups that come in and say, oh, you know, the future is virtual reality. In a lot of cases, I don't really think that those people truly understand, you know, how deep-rooted the changes actually go. Because it's to me, it's not about whether or not you're using a mobile app, or if you're using goggles, or if you're using Second Life, or if you're using what have you. It's about, do you understand how... Sorry, let me try this from a slightly different tact. Because I was talking to a friend the other day, and she was talking about the definition of geography, and I will fully admit that I did not realize exactly what geography was. And that geography is more about how it is that we use the land rather than the land itself. Right? It's not about the rocks or the soil. It's about how it is that we engage with the rocks and the soil. And the social structures that develop around the use of the land. And I think to a large extent we have to think about digital literacy in exactly the same way. It's not about the tools, it's about how we use the tools. And the way in which we describe problems, the paradigms, that is going to really separate those people who will do well in the coming years and those that won't. We have a bit of a challenge where I'm a consultant, which is in the government. And in that particular case, we're talking about digital literacy and digital skills for full-time staff. Right? Like, how do staff adapt to technology? And I see this all the time. We mix up the idea of the tool versus the thinking pattern. And we're starting to, or at least a lot of people are starting to come to the realization that, you know, when we talk about something like, say, data analysis using artificial intelligence and machine learning, again, it's not about how do you program it. It's not about understanding how to push what buttons. It's about understanding the analysis that goes into how are you going to input the data. And I don't mean mechanically. Right? From a analysis standpoint, what do you want to do with the data? What data sources do you need in order to develop complex algorithms, complex connections between pieces of data? And then what type of decision outcomes are you expecting that to produce? And what are the social and economic ramifications of those decisions or those activities? And to me, this is the core thing that really needs to be taught, you know, well, I guess throughout lifelong learning, right? Specifically K through 12. But, you know, going beyond that, the people that are going to find it the hardest to, you know, those in their 40s, 50s, which are potentially having to switch jobs, what they're going to find the hardest thing to do is the fact that they're not trained in how to think about things from a digital standpoint. Even though they might understand the mechanics of how to operate the technology. So anyway, there we go. There's my soapbox. Beth, just to come back and answer your question, because I know you threw one up a little bit earlier. Basically, as I talk, Dragon is putting the text directly into local chat, and then periodically I just hit enter. Sometimes it works really well, and then sometimes, as you've seen earlier, it gets the pronunciation wrong, or I get the pronunciation wrong, one or the other. I guess it depends if you're a programmer for Dragon or not. Probably assumes that, well, you know, you as the speaker, you're going to speak properly. I'm not sure what version I'm on. It's within the last year and a half, I know that. Yeah, I'm on version, there we go, I'm on version 15.
I don't mean to take a whole lot of time with this, but I think this is a really valuable tool that we can use for education in virtual worlds, and it's something that's been a long time coming. I know Dragon Naturally Speaking had been around for a while, but it looks like it's getting to the point where it's actually useful in virtual worlds.
In a lot of cases, it depends if you've trained it properly. I really haven't sat down to train it correctly to recognize different nuances to my voice. So it's close, but as you can see, the difference between what I'm saying and what's being typed is, you know, there's pieces where it's not quite getting it right. And there's also a little bit of a delay which is why every so often I'm breaking up what I'm saying just to allow the software to catch up. So it's not instantaneous by any means, but it's close. Optimize 15, version 15, 1.5.
So back to VWBPE, what are each of you looking forward to the most at the conference, both in general and on the schedule?
Well, I think one of the things I'm looking forward to, and one of the things that we've been trying to do, which has been new with the last 2 years, I guess, has been this idea of a game or introducing an adventure as part of the conference itself, which is education focused. So we have an underwater park, and this year Leticia DeLeon is putting together she's expanding on the game that we've been building the last couple of years. And I guess with that, I mean, one of the things that I've sort of envisioned going forward is having that sort of build out in 3 phases in subsequent conferences. So when we switch the theme next year, it would be like World of Warcraft, sort of introducing a new, or you know, Overreach or any of these other types of games, introducing a new version of that particular game. And what I'm hoping that we can do with that is we can give people ideas of different things that they can do with these particular virtual environments. How they can incorporate not only having fun with an environment like this, but also different forms of engagement and assessment mechanisms. There we go. Beth has just posted the link. The Queens of the Queen's Heroes in the 5 Kingdoms. And this has been built up over the period of 3 years. So people are now seeing the 3rd iteration of this. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens as people start to play this. This is not going to be, like, I know the social group has a scavenger hunt, and there's a couple of other game type things that we've got going on with regards to the regions. But this is very education focused in terms of what we're doing here, and you know, I'm hoping it provides a stimulus for others to try to do something similar with their programs and with their classes. LV, do you have something that you're looking at? Well, I know you've got the immersive experiences you're looking forward to.
Yes, I love the immersive experiences, and I go to every single one. And when I can't, if I have to miss one, I'm so disappointed. They're amazing. So do come to those. They're great. And this is my first year as programs chair, and I'll just be happy when it's over, to be honest.
And for some strange reason, every program chair says that.
I know, it's a thing.
I told you guys up front, sleep was optional.
That's hysterical. We always support the program chairs as much as we can. I guess I would say, and I'm not going to be that helpful either, I always look forward to the keynotes and the conversation with Linden Labs. But I also love the opportunities to network and hear what other people are doing. So the workshops, and then the immersive experiences are so great with all of that. So, so I guess I'm looking forward to everything. Sorry.
And we've tried to build some networking time in as well. So there is there's a scavenger hunt to go through the exhibits, but there's also some gaps and spaces in the program where you can get together and talk with a friend and catch up with things. So I'm looking forward to that too.
That note card does not have the landmarks on it yet, but the landmarks are in the on the web pages that are in the note card.
For the immersive experiences, Beth?
Yes.
Yeah, and it doesn't really, some of them are not in Second Life, so the landmarks
Right. Yeah, the
aren't
first
meaningful.
one.
I think one of the other interesting things that I'm hoping people are going to get out of this is that even though we do a lot of this in Second Life, Second Life is not the only virtual environment that people can do this particular type of stuff in. So as LV was making reference to, not all of the immersive experiences are in Second Life.
And the conference sessions are not all on about Second Life either.
Yeah, which I'm hoping that we'll be able to see more of as we go forward. You know, it would be really nice. Yeah, obviously, Kitely, OpenSim, ScienceSpace, yeah. I'm really sort of hoping that as we move forward that we can sort of broaden the reach of the idea of a virtual space and how we can encourage educators to contribute to making those other virtual spaces possible, you know, to a similar extent to the way we've done with Second Life.
Well, we're almost to the top of the hour. Are there more questions? I have to say, I'm really excited about this conference. I can't believe it's coming up in less than 3 weeks. Is that it?
Less than 3 weeks.
That's awesome. And we're not ready yet, but we are well on the way. I think things are looking really good. Thank you, all of you. Thank you for coming. Thank you to Phelan and LV and Ellie for being here, and to the other people who are working on the conference. Thank you so much. This has been another ISTE Virtual Environments Network focus session. Good night.